Welcome. You came to us with a specific request to explore the full, complex, and sometimes heartbreaking story of Naomi Judd,
Right.
and to move far beyond just the well-known narratives of her legacy as, half of one of country music's most iconic duos.
It's really the mission today.
Right.
Our goal isn't just to list off achievements, though there are many. It's to truly understand the immense transformation she went through.
From her birth in Kentucky all the way until her passing.
Exactly. We want to connect the dots between her early life, which was one of striving and, frankly, survival, and her later years of this dazzling triumph and ultimately profound struggle.
We're going to try to look at the source material chronologically, but we really want to slow down and analyze the why behind all these shifts in her identity. Her professional pivots are just staggering, from a nursing student looking for stability to a global superstar. And then her deep dedication to advocacy right through to her final challenging moments.
It's a life defined by this relentless reinvention.
It really is.
And that theme of reinvention, it starts right at the beginning. We can kick things off with the fascinating fact that her public name, the name that defined her whole persona, Naomi, was not the name she was given at birth.
It was a choice.
A very deliberate choice. Such a powerful opening statement for a life that was really all about creating her own narrative.
Okay, let's unpack this monumental journey. We'll start with part one, Kentucky roots and the birth of Diana Ellen Judd, covering the years 1946 through 1975.
So she was born Diana Ellen Judd on January 11th, 1946, in Ashland, Kentucky.
And that location immediately roots her biography in a very specific rural American context. It's a heritage she would come back to again and again throughout her career.
Absolutely. And to understand where she started, you have to look at her family backdrop. Her parents were Pauline Ruth, or Polly, and Charles Glenn Judd.
And the sources specify their jobs, which are so far removed from the life she would later lead.
So far. Her father owned a gas station, and her mother was a riverboat cook. These are details that really ground her story in a history of, necessity and hard blue-collar work.
It's an environment that demands resilience from the start.
It does. And her early family life also included significant tragedy that must have shaped her worldview.
You're talking about her brother.
Yes. The source material notes the deeply painful loss of her younger brother, Brian. He died of leukemia in 1965.
He was only 17.
Just 17 years old. And for Diana, who was still a teenager herself, that kind of loss, it must have had a devastating and lasting impact.
It would force you to confront mortality at a very, very young age.
Right. And those mid-1960s were defining years for her. You have this personal tragedy, and then almost immediately, the overwhelming challenges of young motherhood.
She became a mother at only 18 years old.
Just 18, with the birth of her first child, Christina Clare, in 1964.
And Christina Clare is, of course, the daughter the world would come to know as Winona Judd.
Exactly. But the circumstances around Winona's birth were immediately complex. It shows the instability Diana was facing as a young adult.
The sources say she was abandoned by Winona's biological father, Charles Jordan.
She was. And so she subsequently, and very quickly, married a man named Michael Simonella.
And he's the one who gave Winona her initial last name.
Right. You can see her just trying to construct some kind of stable, traditional structure around her new family, but the circumstances were anything but stable.
And that attempt at stability through marriage, it didn't last.
No. Her second daughter, Ashley, was born in 1968, and the marriage to Michael Simonella ended. The divorce was finalized in 1972.
So at this point, Diana's only in her mid-20s.
That's right. And she's a single parent, solely responsible for raising both girls. This era wasn't about fame or glamour at all. It was a decade of pure survival.
Just focused on financial security and really opportunity for her daughters.
And that deep-seated necessity is what directly fueled her next massive pivot. This is one that really sets her apart and that the average fan might not know about.
Her pursuit of nursing.
Her pursuit of stability through a rigorous education in nursing. She had 2 young kids, yet she committed to nursing school.
She first enrolled at the University of Kentucky campus in Lexington, which shows incredible resolve.
It's more than resolve. It's an intellectual commitment to a really demanding field. To manage the workload of clinicals and academic study while parenting 2 children. It just speaks volumes about her discipline.
And she didn't stop in Kentucky.
No. The sources note she continued her education on the West Coast, attending the College of Marin in California.
And she lived in Lagunitas from 1975 through 1979.
Right, and this detail is such a crucial non-obvious piece of her history.
We're talking about 4 years of intense study and work as a single mother after moving clear across the country.
Exactly. She was preparing for a professional life as a nurse, a career that's demanding, yes, but offers a degree of stability and purpose that the entertainment world does not.
So this move west, it was about practical survival, not about becoming a star.
Not at all. And this geographical and professional shift, from the deep south to Bohemian California in the late 70s, that's a massive cultural transformation.
It really is.
And it was during this period, as she was so focused on defining herself professionally and spiritually, that the spiritual rebirth, symbolized by the name change, happened.
Let's focus on this identity change. The source material is very explicit. When she reverted to her maiden name, Judd, after the divorce, she also decided to shed the name Diana. She felt it didn't fit her own spiritual, rural Kentucky conception of her true heritage.
That is such a profound rejection of a part of her past identity. It reveals this deep internal longing for a connection to her southern roots and a name that resonated with purpose and resilience.
It's interesting the name Diana is so classical, almost regal. Maybe it felt disconnected from the hardworking survivalist identity she was building.
I think so. And she chose the name Naomi specifically to pay homage to a biblical figure.
Let's spend a moment on that biblical connection, because it really summarizes the emotional state of this period in her life, doesn't it?
It perfectly does. The significance she found was rooted in the story of the biblical Naomi, a woman who experienced profound loss.
Right.
The biblical Naomi is known for moving to a foreign land, being left without a husband, losing both her spouse and her sons, and then returning to her homeland with her daughter-in-law, Ruth.
It's a story defined by moving, loss, adversity.
And a deep, sustaining bond between women. This narrative resonated so profoundly with Diana's own life. She moved from Kentucky to California, she was left without a husband, and she was focused on raising 2 women, her daughters.
So the change wasn't just aesthetic, it was a spiritual adoption of an identity rooted in resilience and that powerful maternal connection.
Yes. The former Diana Ellen Judd transformed herself into Naomi Judd, and she set the stage, maybe unintentionally, for the next phase of her life.
She had rebuilt her internal identity, and soon the external world would follow.
And that next phase, part 2, the meteoric rise of the Judds from 1980 through 1991 happened with startling speed.
Especially given all those years of struggle and dedication to nursing.
The duo is officially formed in 1980. That's when Naomi and her daughter, Christina Claire, who is now Winona Judd, came together.
And from that moment, the trajectory was almost vertical. Their success throughout the 1980s was just massive and incredibly sustained.
To really quantify that impact, we're talking about a phenomenon.
They accumulated an astonishing 20 top 10 country hits.
20. And released 6 studio albums in that relatively short time frame. They became absolute constants at the Country Music Awards shows every year.
And the recognition they received shows it was more than just popularity. They were critically acclaimed, industry dominant.
5 Grammy Awards.
5.
And 9 Country Music Association Awards. To put that into perspective, this is a staggering level of achievement for a mother-daughter duo who, just a few years earlier, were in California while Naomi was studying medical textbooks.
The contrast is it's difficult to fully grasp.
It is. And what's particularly fascinating here is that their success wasn't just contained within country music, which was a huge feat for a country act back then.
The source notes they achieved moderate mainstream and international success.
They became household names, far beyond the genre they started in. It really speaks to the universal appeal of their music and, crucially, their compelling story.
And focusing on Naomi's specific creative contribution is vital here. It's easy to see her just as the charismatic frontwoman and harmony singer.
But her recognition went deeper into the core creative engine of the duo, songwriting.
What does the source material tell us about that specific achievement?
It confirms that Naomi won a prestigious Grammy Award for Country Song of the Year.
For co-writing what is arguably their most iconic hit, Love Can Build a Bridge.
Exactly. And while the award was officially received in 1992, the work was done during this peak period. This shows her influence was substantial, covering both the performance and the deep foundational artistry.
It's just amazing to consider the sheer willpower involved. Years of studying anatomy and clinical practice, followed immediately by years of intense songwriting, recording, relentless touring.
And navigating the music industry. It's an exhausting, almost superhuman pace of transformation. It took her from the stability she craved to the intensity of global stardom.
And that hyper-intense pace, which few people could sustain, was brought to a sudden, dramatic halt.
A severe and critical health crisis, which forces us into part 3. Health crisis, advocacy, and reunions, spanning the years 1991 through 2002.
The news just shattered the music industry at the time. The Judds abruptly stopped performing almost immediately after Naomi received a critical diagnosis.
She was diagnosed with hepatitis C in 1991.
And the illness was severe enough, the treatment required enough dedication that it meant the immediate end of one of the most successful acts in music.
And it's so important to understand the magnitude of their popularity at that exact moment.
The sources underscore this with the details about their farewell event.
Yes, the band's farewell concert became the most successful musical event in cable pay-per-view history. That immense fan investment shows they left the stage not in decline, but at the absolute dizzying peak of their career.
But Naomi, the woman who had trained as a nurse to ensure stability, she didn't just step away quietly to manage her illness.
No, she immediately leveraged that platform, that energy, and her medical knowledge into a new role: health advocate.
She created the Naomi Judd Education and Research Fund in 1991 to raise awareness of hepatitis C.
It's a true full-circle moment, isn't it? The discipline she gained studying medicine was applied to her public fame for a deeply personal and public health cause.
This return to the medical world, this time as a high-profile advocate, was really defining for her post-performing years.
It really was. She brilliantly used the strength of her personal experience and her undeniable fame. She served as a prominent spokesmodel for the American Liver Foundation.
She took what was a personally devastating diagnosis and immediately turned it into a powerful public service campaign,
teaching millions about a then lesser understood disease. And the recognition for this new phase of her life came swiftly.
In 1993, she received the Golden Plate Award from the American Academy of Achievement.
And that was explicitly not a music award. It was an acknowledgement of her humanitarian efforts and her profound public impact beyond the stage.
It affirmed her value as a public health figure.
And what's so fascinating here is how her tenacity played out in her personal battle. The sources point to a massive medical breakthrough for her.
She achieved what's known as a virologic cure of hepatitis C in 1998.
Right, following a rigorous course of treatment with interferon alpha.
Let's pause and appreciate that for a moment. Interferon alpha therapy, especially back then, was notoriously difficult. It came with severe side effects.
Awful side effects. Flu-like symptoms, fatigue, depression.
So for her to undergo that, successfully clear the virus, and achieve a virologic cure, meaning the virus was undetectable, that was a major triumph, both medically and personally.
It's a testament to the sheer fight she brought to her health challenges. And it paved the way for the next phase, a return to the stage.
And the return was not subtle. It was a grand public celebration.
The Judds reunited for a massive New Year's Eve concert at the America West Arena in Phoenix in 1999.
And there's a warm detail in the sources that her other daughter, Ashley Judd, acted as the MC for the event.
It really brought the family circle complete for that moment of musical rebirth.
That reunion proved the demand hadn't faded at all. It spurred the Power to Change tour that continued throughout 2000.
And the Phoenix concert was immortalized as a live album, the Judds Reunion Live.
It cemented their reemergence. And what about their continued relevance?
Well, even a decade after their initial dramatic breakup, the Judds were nominated as the Academy of Country Music's Top Vocal Duo of the Year in 2001.
Wow.
It just underscores the enduring, powerful impact of their unique sound and connection. They weren't just a nostalgia act.
This period, from 91 to 2002, really shows the core of her strength. She faced mortality, fought a debilitating disease, achieved a cure, advocated for millions, and made a triumphant return to the stage.
And all while balancing these complex family dynamics. But the advocacy and the reunions, that was only half of her professional life in those decades.
Right.
As we move into part 4, Beyond the Mic, the media and acting career from 1979 through 2021, we uncovered just how much she explored the world of television and film.
And that's a crucial point that often gets lost. Her first screen appearance actually predates her musical fame.
By a good bit. She was listed as Girl and Bus in the 1979 comedy film More American Graffiti.
So Diana Ellen Judd was already dipping her toes into acting before she and Winona formally became the Judds.
And her influence quickly extended beyond just taking roles. She was involved in shaping the narrative. In 1995, she was the executive producer for the TV movie Naomi and Winona, Love Can Build a Bridge.
Which is based on her own book.
Exactly. It shows her ability to control and adapt her own life story for a broader audience.
Her acting roles were surprisingly varied, spanning 4 decades. She guest starred on a wide range of TV series.
Incredible versatility. We see her in dramas like Sisters and The Client.
And then completely shifting gears to the comedy Third Rock from the Sun, where she played Frances Randall.
She also appeared in Touched by an Angel and, interestingly, even had a voice role in an episode of Frasier as the character Lillian.
What's fascinating is that she quickly moved into substantial, even leading roles, not just cameos.
Right. She played the female lead opposite Kenny Rogers in the 1993 TV Western Rio Diablo.
As Flora Mae Pepper.
A significant central role that came right on the heels of the Judds' initial breakup. It shows she had a viable second career path almost instantly.
And she maintained that consistency. She starred in the 1999 drama Family Tree and the TV film A Holiday Romance.
And then there's that charming family connection. She made a cameo as a makeup artist in her daughter Ashley Judd's 2001 film, Someone Like You.
Which shows her willingness to participate in small, supportive roles, just staying connected to the industry and her family.
And even into the 2010s, she continued finding consistent work in television movies.
In 2011, she starred as Sandra Duncan in the Lifetime movie The Killing Game.
And then a series of Hallmark Channel films in 2013, Nearly Weds and Window Wonderland. The roles she took often leveraged that public persona she had cultivated, the matriarchal, warm, or slightly dramatic figure.
Her career progression just continued. She even engaged with newer platforms.
Yes. In 2014, she starred as Honey in the Netflix film An Evergreen Christmas.
And the sources note her final screen role was in 2021 in the Lifetime adaptation of the V.C. Andrews novel Ruby,
where she played the grandmother, Catherine Landry.
So that's an extensive career, from More American Graffiti in 1979 to a major TV movie in 2021, over 40 years of acting credits.
Completely independent of her musical partner. And beyond acting, she solidified her status as a mainstream television personality and host.
That shift began early in the 2000s, right? Capitalizing on her natural charisma.
It did. From 2003 to 2004, she was a judge on the rebooted Star Search show with Arsenio Hall.
And later, in 2008, she was a judge and mentor on the CMT reality series Can You Do It?
Her background as an industry veteran and a 5-time Grammy winner gave her immense credibility in that role.
She also took on the role of a talk show host, further cementing her media influence.
She launched Naomi's New Morning, a Sunday morning talk show on the Hallmark Channel. It ran for 2 seasons, starting in 2005.
And this allowed her to transition into the persona of a trusted cultural commentator. She even leveraged that into authorship.
Yes, several self-help books, including Naomi's Guide to Aging Gratefully in 2007. It speaks to her consistent desire to connect with the public and share her hard-won lessons on health and life.
A direct evolution from her early advocacy work.
It seems like she was open to any new challenge. The source mentions a final reality TV appearance in 2017.
On the Fox cooking series My Kitchen Rules.
With her second husband, Larry Strickland. It just shows her continued engagement with pop culture.
That kind of sustained presence across so many diverse platforms, it shows tremendous energy and openness.
And right before her final tragedy, she received one more significant industry honor, a powerful recognition of her fundamental musical contribution.
In 2021, she was recognized as one of the first inductees into the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame.
A wonderful recognition that places her squarely among the industry's most respected composers and lyricists.
Which now we must transition to the final, most sensitive and deeply difficult chapter of her story. Part 5, Personal Life and the Public Discussion of Mental Health.
Let's first quickly establish the personal relationships that anchored her later years. Her 2 daughters, Winona the musician and Ashley the actress.
Both of whom maintained highly visible careers and shared her spotlight in their own ways.
And in 1989, right around the peak of the Judds' career, she married her second husband, Larry Strickland.
The sources tell us he was a longtime member of the Palmetto State Quartet.
Yes, and he also sang with other significant gospel groups like J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet. They were married on May 6, 1989, and remained together until her death.
So the stage was set for the ultimate career peak, only to be followed by unimaginable tragedy.
She and Winona were elected into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2021, the absolute pinnacle of achievement.
Cementing their status as legends.
And the juxtaposition of this triumph and her death is just stark and heartbreaking. Naomi Judd died on April 30th, 2022.
At her home in Cypress Fork, Tennessee, She was 76.
And the induction ceremony for the Hall of Fame, the event she had worked her whole life for, was scheduled for the very next day.
Just one day later.
Shifting the focus to the immediate aftermath, her daughters released a heartbreaking statement, but they immediately focused the tragedy on a broader public health crisis.
They stated publicly that they lost their beautiful mother to the disease of mental illness.
And this public acknowledgement immediately set her death apart, opening up a critical and necessary national conversation.
The source material provides more detailed information on the specific medical challenge she had been battling.
Severe depression, accompanied by debilitating anxiety, frequent panic attacks, and suicidal thoughts.
And here is where the discussion has to connect back to her earlier health battles and her profound struggles with treatment.
The physical effects of her prescribed medication, which were meant to help, actually compounded her agony. It created a vicious cycle of physical and mental distress.
What specifically does the source detail regarding the medication?
The sources detail that the medication prescribed to her, specifically lithium, produced debilitating physical side effects.
These included facial edema,
which is severe swelling of the face, alopecia, which is hair loss, and tremors, that involuntary shaking.
This is such a crucial detail for understanding the tragedy of her final years. The physical suffering caused by the treatment. The visible swelling, the loss of hair, the shaking.
For someone whose entire career and sense of self was built on public appearance and charisma, it must have been devastating.
And the source confirms that these side effects caused her depression to worsen.
Right. The treatment intended to alleviate her suffering inadvertently deepened her crisis. The cure became part of the disease.
It then took tremendous courage for the family to share the exact circumstances of her passing.
Ashley Judd made that decision. She shared it publicly in a televised interview with Diane Sawyer on May 12, 2022.
To reveal the cause, a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
To her head, yes.
What was the rationale behind making such a difficult, painful, and intimate disclosure so public?
The reasoning Ashley provided was very clear and powerful. The primary goal was to help raise awareness of the devastating reality of mental illness, treating it explicitly as a disease that kills.
And there was a secondary reason as well.
Yes, and importantly, it was to ensure that the family themselves controlled the narrative. They controlled the release of the manner of death, rather than relying on secondhand, speculative, or insensitive sources in the media.
It was an act of profound protective advocacy in their deepest grief.
Upholding Naomi's own history of turning personal struggle into public service.
Her life ended in this tragedy, but the public response was this massive collective outpouring of love and respect.
It culminated in a truly spectacular public memorial that showed her broad cultural influence.
The source details the televised tribute, Naomi Judd, a River of Time celebration.
It was broadcast nationally on CMT, directly from the historic Ryman Auditorium in Nashville.
And a poignant detail is that she had specified that location before her passing.
She wanted her final public event to take place at the Mother Church of Country Music.
The list of appearances just illustrates her wide-ranging impact. It shows the girl who started as Diana Ellen Judd had connections at the highest levels of global influence.
The memorial was hosted by Robin Roberts. It featured appearances by Bono, Bette Midler, Martina McBride, Reba McEntire,
Reese Witherspoon, Morgan Freeman, Oprah Winfrey, Salma Hayek,
and of course her husband, Larry Strickland, and daughter, Ashley Judd. In the performances, they reflected her immense musical legacy.
Winona, Brad Paisley, Carly Pierce, Ashley McBride,
Emmylou Harris and Allison Russell, Little Big Town, Brandi Carlile, Jamie Johnson. It was a definitive testament to the immense, complicated, and utterly transformative life she lived.
So what does this all mean when we look at the full decades-long arc of her story? We've traveled from Diana Ellen Judd, born in Ashland, Kentucky, daughter of a gas station owner,
And a riverboat cook, struggling as a single mother to get a professional nursing degree in California.
all the way to Naomi Judd, the 5-time Grammy winner, international star, health advocate who overcame hepatitis C, a prolific television actress and host and author.
And finally, a profound and tragic symbol for the fight against mental illness. Her story is one of constant, often forced reinvention. It was fueled by an immense internal pressure to transform circumstance into purpose, survival into significance.
If we connect all those powerful threads, especially the details from the source material about her deliberate name change to Naomi,
Inspired by that biblical figure seeking meaning amidst profound loss.
it suggests something far deeper than just a biography of a country store.
It raises an important question for reflection, I think. Was every major chapter of her adult life, from her pivot into nursing advocacy to her commitment to sharing her most painful health struggles, physical or mental, Was it all driven by that deep, foundational need to find resonance and meaning in adversity?
Much like the biblical figure she chose to honor.
She never stopped searching for purpose in the struggle. She was always finding ways to turn her own vulnerability into a form of public strength.
That is a remarkable way to view her entire biography. Her story is less about the music industry and more about the relentless, lifelong pursuit of identity and significance in the face of constant, often debilitating challenge.
Indeed. It's a truly complicated legacy, marked equally by dazzling triumph and profound silent suffering that she ultimately helped millions understand better through her final public act.
Thanks for listening.